Hello, everybody. We're on week 3. I can't believe this is our hump week. We're finished the first half after this discussion. This discussion this week is a very interesting discussion. It has to do with police ethics. And police ethics are never really always black and white. Sometimes there's gray. For some people, there is no gray, but you have to know that everything has a gray area. For example, if I were to take number 3 here, and it says a tow truck company proprietor approaches you and requests that you notify him telephonically of any accidents or disabled or abandoned autos that require towing. For your cooperation, he indicates he'll make it worth your while. Well, the vast majority of cities and towns in Massachusetts have contracts with tow companies. And those tow companies, when they make those contracts, money is given back to the city. Uh, each department, it's negotiated on how they're going to get money back. They may get $25 back a tow that goes to the city, and that goes towards the upkeep of motor vehicles, or it goes towards very much like your if you have an ambulance in your town, the money goes back to the city for upkeep of the ambulance and to pay for personnel. So that is a negotiated contract out there. So when you read this, could we be talking about, are you the chief that a tow truck company calls you? Does it go out to bid, or do you pick Johnny, your friend, and say, hey, you get the tow company? I know that every city I know does an out for bid. It has to go out for bid. But just know that that does happen out there. Every single time there's a tow, it's very specific. Does that mean that when you get into an accident, you can't call for your own tow? You absolutely can. I don't know some cities will tell you you can't, but I can tell you that I know my city says you can call whoever you like. Another one that's in here, a local funeral director asks you to hold up traffic at a busy intersection so they can get a funeral procession moving away in good order. What would be your thoughts on that? How many of us have been at funerals where you see that we have the absolute right to go through the red light in a civil manner? I mean, safety-wise, that the funeral, once you're in a funeral, the funeral has precedence. So would it be, something out of the ordinary for a funeral director to call and say, hey, can I have some traffic detail? Some of the ones that I see in ethics a lot is people saying, oh, cops always get their meals for free or they get their coffee for free. And funny note on that is, in my history, I would have people that would try and say, okay, we got your coffee, no worry. And I'm like, then here's your $2 tip or whatever the cost of the coffee is. Because my, you know, for me, you can't buy me for $2, nor would I even think that anybody I work with. But I can tell you there's a lot of discounts that are out there for police and for teachers. You'll see at Ocean State Job Lot, they have a police discount once a year. They have it for teachers, they have it for senior citizens. So, there are discounts out there because of who you are. Are they unethical? Are they expecting something in return? And that's the most important thing to ask is, are they expecting something in return? One of the things that very often happened was when I was walking a beat, I would stop into the stores that open 24/7, and I would have a coffee. And I think that was for them. They felt very safe having that done. And for me, it was good public relations to be there. And very often you see police officers do that. So ask yourself, should they or should they not? There's a bunch of really good questions in here, and I hope you look them over. I hope you read all of them and not take look at the top ones. I think you need to go over them. One of the things that I want you to look at too is when you're looking at these, one of the things on number 15, there's a thing that says in here, jurisdiction. How important is jurisdiction? Jurisdiction is extremely important because only state police have jurisdiction throughout Massachusetts. But for me to have jurisdiction in a city that's next to mine, there has to be an agreement made between the two cities to give aid to each city or each town. So it has to be agreed upon. You can't just pick a jurisdiction and say, oh, I can do that. Doesn't mean you can't make an arrest in a different jurisdiction, because everybody has the right to make a civil arrest. Every single person does. It does mean that there's some certain areas you cannot stop somebody for speeding if you're in another city. So unless you have jurisdiction in that area. So jurisdiction is a big question. I also want to go to, so again, 4 of these. In your discussion, please feel free to go and look. I think I've showed some of you how to, if you're asking a question, you can highlight it, take a, right click it and look. But make sure you put a source in there. If you don't put a source, you're not going to get full credit. Our written assignment is very exciting to me. So it's about discretion. Do police have discretion? Should they have discretion? And where is discretion? So having to do some things you do not have discretion on. So let's talk about the ones you don't have discretion on. You don't have discretion if there's a restraining order in Massachusetts and a person violates that restraining order. There is no discretion. There's 2 words you always look for in the law. One is shall and one is may. Shall means you're going to do it. Whether you like it or not, you're going to do it. You're going to make an arrest. If there's a restraining order violation, you are going to make it, and you don't have a choice. So the discretion has been taken away from you, and with due cause, because domestic violence is fairly new to the last 30, 40 years of police really becoming involved, and that had to do with the Torrington decision out of Connecticut. That's a really good decision if you want to look at it. So Massachusetts followed suit after that and said, we're just going to take discretion away. If there's a restraining order, wherever that restraining order may be from, and you violate it, you're going to get arrested. They also took discretion away from OUI, operating under the influence. Why? Because of a weird decision, because of a bad decision by a police officer. So almost every law that you see was made because it was a bad decision made by someone in the past. So when we look at this, which offenses allow officers little discretionary use of authority and which provide the greatest amount of freedom in terms of arrest options? This is a little bigger than you think. I want you to look at what happened with Eric Gardner. And so we're going to look at that. There was discretion. There could have been discretion, and the discretion wasn't used. It's under the broken window and police discretion. The broken window said if you have an area that, the easiest way to put it is if you have an area that looks like garbage, it's going to be garbage, and people are going to break the law, and you need to make the area not have those broken windows. In other words, you're going to clean up the area. So New York City said, this is what we're going to do. This is going to work really well for us. Because why? Who complained? Who wanted them to step in? Will be the small business owners. It's the people that live in the neighborhoods. They're saying, look, we got, gangs hanging across the street. We have people selling Lucy cigarettes. We have a business and they're selling Lucy cigarettes and, they're cutting into our business. Can you help us here? So it felt a lot under the community policing. And then the Eric Gardner came along. So I want you to go through some of these. I'm going to send these to you so you have them, by the way. Police officers' decision-making and discretion. Minor crimes. Do they have the right to arrest, or should they summons, or should they complain? What would be your choices? Now, some felonies, you don't have that choice, but some misdemeanors, such as selling Lucy's, which they have now changed to civil in New York, selling certain things is now a written citation. So I will put these, but just to step back one thing, every police officer, I wanted to give you this, every police officer in the state of Massachusetts has to take an ethics class every year, but so does every single employee in the state. They must take the same ethics test every year. Not that it's, a hard test to take for sure, but it definitely tells you what's right and what's wrong. So getting back to the loose cigarettes arrest in New York City. They dropped after Eric Gardner's death dramatically by 33%. For many different reasons, and some go to they said the police are saying, we are not getting, you complained to us, you wanted this taken care of, and what ended up happening, we made an arrest because this is what you wanted happening, and the reality of it is, it would have been much easier to use discretion here to hand out a citation or to ignore it. So this is a pretty interesting article on that, the loose cigarettes, what happened with that, on that discretion. I have another one that had to do, it wasn't chokehold that killed Eric Gardner. It was a violent confrontation over a Lucy. So ask yourself, did it have to be? And this goes into, he was recently dismissed. This is a great article to read because it's beyond the misconduct. It had to do with the policies and practices. And that needed to be changed. So I will definitely give you this article as well. The Criminal Justice Reform Act, this was from 2016, the year after. It focused on what are we going to do? What are we going to do about all these little minor crimes, these quality of life crimes? And that's what they're called, quality of life crimes. So what are we going to do about that? Quality of life. So it adversely affected all the communities of color, and that was clear. So they came up with, by reducing summonses, they said, minor offenses, we're going to give you citations. And there's a whole thought process on what they decided to do. And it was, as I said, they saw a 90% drop in the criminal court. Does that mean those incidents stopped happening? No, it did not. But it meant that they weren't holding up the court. So I'm going to send you that article too, because I think it's a fairly interesting article. Retail thefts, though, what happened after COVID, after a lot of the small crimes were not looked at anymore, the small shopliftings, who were the people that hurt by it? It would be the small business owner. And so they're struggling to confront, what should we do with this? What should we do with the quality of life crimes? And I'll send you this. Do the offenders get the message? Well, this was a 2003 paper, and it was done by the National Library of Medicine. So you can get it through the NCBI. I'll send it to you. But that was 2002. 2003, things change. Things definitely go on. And so New York City said, we need to look at this. And this was their quality of life broken window policy in New York City, and had to do with a lot of what discretion was and what discretion wasn't. One of the articles I found that was most interesting had to do with CNN. Law enforcement focuses on quality of life offenses, renew old debate over broken windows policy. Now remember that the broken window policy was a policy that was set many, many years ago, but it evolved. And somewhere in the 90s, I think it got a little out of hand and it needed to be readjusted. So this was a really, really interesting article. And so they're going back to the open, the quality of life. They're starting to do more arrests. They're starting to do more citations. And they're attacking the uprising crime, because crime has definitely risen in New York City. Crime has risen in Detroit. So they're saying, how do we reduce this? And some of that has to do with quality of life crimes. How do we reduce the quality of life crimes? All right, I hope this helps you. I will send these to you. Hope you find them interesting. If you look at any of them, look at this one, because I thought it was pretty interesting. But you can also peruse through the different ones. As always, if you have questions, you can always contact me. My number has been sent to you through your emails, but if you don't have it, send me an email and I'll send it to you. Have a great week, everyone.